Oh, I'm gonna throw a jacket on. This thing's all, if I wear this whole white thing, it kind of, the camera kind of messes with and stuff like that. So, I had to go out to the train station this morning, and they were having a big,
Oh, they did. I saw that.
50th anniversary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something.
Yeah, train's pretty handy, that's for sure. Okay. Welcome to the Muddy River News Business Spotlight. I'm Bob Goff, and we are brought to you by Case and Huff and Schluter Insurance. My guest today is Greg Miller with Diamond Construction. And if you've driven on any of the roads around here, chances are his company had a little bit to do with them. And we're going to kind of talk about how road building is going, how it's progressed, and what the future of it is. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate you stopping by. And talk a little bit about Diamond Construction, how it got started, and how you got where you are.
Well, this is a particularly important year for Diamond Construction. We're celebrating our 75th anniversary, being in business since 1946. The business was started by my grandfather, W.L. Red Miller, from Elveston, Illinois, just north of here. And he got some gentlemen together, John L. Piles and a Lester Foote. And they thought, well, let's start hauling some rock to some of these townships 75 years ago. And that's kind of how it started. And then we've evolved today into a highway contractor, mainly dealing with hot mix asphalt.
And your company's located on South 57, correct?
Yes, our plant and shop are on Route 57, and then our office is at North 18th Street.
Are you looking forward to the possibility of a new 57 coming through sometime, or an expansion?
Yeah, I've seen some of the plans on that. I know they want to make that 4-lane. I think that's critical to some of the truck traffic down there. We see a lot of traffic on that road on a daily basis. That's why we kind of wanted to move down in that area, because we saw the growth going in that area with the port possibilities and everything else. I don't know how soon that'll happen. I know how things, when they start getting planned and put on agendas, it could be years before that actually gets done. But yeah, that would be exciting.
You, in dealing with what you do, you have to do a lot of RFPs, a lot of bids. You're dealing with cities, counties, townships, all that stuff. Is the business more complicated than it was when you first got into it?
Maybe not so complicated, but regulations seem to, and that's with anybody that deals with government, because mainly our main customers are municipalities in the state of Illinois, so they're requiring a lot more regulations. A lot of things they try to put on top of the highway industry as far as how you treat employees and everything else, and harassment training and all those sorts of things. But yeah, it's the same type of thing. We're just required to do a lot more, and I think we've become a lot smarter on the product that we make and test than it was 30 years ago. So we know a lot more.
So let's dive into that a little more. How different is road building now than it was 30 years ago?
Well, one thing might be the materials that we use. We've done so much research on hot mix asphalt that we've really kind of get it narrowed down on what makes the best product, and we're still striving for that 50-year road. Whether that'll ever happen in this area with the freeze-thaw, I don't think it will, but we'd like to have a road that would take 50 years before we'd have to do anything to it. So yeah, basically how we come up with our hot mix asphalt mixes, and then the material and the equipment that we use to place it. It's gotten a lot more computerized, electronics. You don't see anybody with a hand level anymore. It's all done with digitals.
Sure. So understand that. How many guys do you have on your crew now?
During the peak season, we'll probably have maybe 30, and then kind of during the off season, they all go on kind of like lay off for a couple months, and we start back up in the spring. But yeah, during the peak construction season, probably around 30 employees.
Where are you seeing the biggest growth opportunities for your business?
It's always been highways for us. Even with the commercial developments here in Quincy of Light, with the Blessing Hospital, QMG, other municipal parking lots, it's still going to be highways, and that's all dependent on trust funds and how the gas tax is handled, and we're at the mercy of how the highway dollars trickle down to this area in the region. But Quincy's been always a great highway town. I mean, we've had good people that were proponents of good highway systems, and we needed that. So that's always critical for us.
Yeah, we were for Gatonia for way too long, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And when you get out there and, people are, driving the highways, whether they're, heading over to Missouri or going up north or over to Springfield, people always wonder, that during that peak season in the summer where, sometimes, 72 will be down to one lane or whatever, people always need to remember there's a price for progress, right?
Yes, and it's really critical for us because its safety is utmost for us. If you've ever stood out on a highway and had a car go by you at 45 miles an hour, it seems devastating. It's scary. So we asked all those speed zones are now 45, I believe, or the speed limits through that. But progress. We're doing a lot of different types of paving now, trying to do it in off hours. Right now we're working on 48th Street, and we've been doing that at night because if you go out there during the day, any kind of lane closures, they would just back up for a mile. So we've been trying to do that at night. We've been kind of shut down right now with the temperatures, but we'll start back up next week again. So we try to be a little variable in when we can do our work and try to not to be the least inconvenient or what the public.
48th Street, the plans of the roundabout coming up now. What are your thoughts on the roundabout?
I've seen those, and I kind of like them. So we go to Indiana a lot, and we have some friends that live in Carmel, Indiana, and I think they're the nation's capital for roundabouts. I think they would work for that intersection really well for the traffic pattern because I live out on South 48th Street, so I would welcome that. I know there's been some pushback on that, on how that would get developed, but I think it'd be a good idea.
Well, especially if you're out there, like I said, you live out there, I live out on that end of town, and when John Wood is having dismissal periods and things like that, and then of course you've got Rooney School on the north end there, it gets pretty congested. Yeah. So something needs to be done that will improve the flow there. That's for sure. We were down in Missouri and a couple weeks ago, and I grew up over in Rawls County, Missouri, in Audrain County, just to the south. For years, there was this. It was called Scott's Corner, where you went to Mexico or you went straight down and through Martinsburg on the way to hit where 19 would connect to 70. Well, that's a roundabout now, and it's been that way for a few years, and I said that when I was lucky enough to be backseat driving and not have to drive, but I said, hey, make sure you hit the right exit on the roundabout. And on the way down, we did. But then we got to talking, and on the way back, we drove around it a couple of times. And I said, well, guys, this has been fun, but you really need to take this exit right here. So, and of course, I know there's one over in Hannibal by the hospital there on Shin Lane in that area. So, but again, I think when you're talking about progress and you're talking about being efficient and doing the things that keep traffic flow going, that's important. But the thing that is the most important is to have a good, smooth surface to drive on.
That's
correct?
How we're remembered. Usually the traveling public, they won't care if we used a certain type of aggregate or met a certain density and all the volumetrics that go along with placing our product. They judge it by how smooth it is, and a lot of the final paint striping, how good that is, and delineates their patterns so they can stay in their lane and everything. So, and that's always important. And there are specifications for type of smoothness that you need to have, so we strive to do that.
And when you get on a road, and and whether you're going, again 72 or taking, on the way to Hannibal, or whether you go towards Springfield, you just notice when, especially when you guys have just put on a new layer or a new surface or whatever, you can always tell it's like, oh, this is nice. And then that wear and tear, like I said, you shoot for X number of years for it to last. But again, if you have a heavy volume or you have particularly rough winters and stuff, it can affect that.
Yes, I think the winters are the most critical around here, and they've been really strange lately. It'll be 50 degrees in December, and then the rain and freeze the next evening. And that's terrible for roads around here. The freeze thaw is just what causes all the issues.
And what is your radius or range? How far will you guys go to Latham Highway?
From our plant down on Route 57, we make and place a perishable product. So it's 320 degrees when we put it in a truck, and then we have to take it to the job, and we have to put it on the ground and have it roll before it gets to around 200 degrees. So we're always under a time constraint there. So I've always thought that I could be competitive probably within 50 or 60 miles. And that would be having good production and everything else. But what we've run into lately is, with all the workforce, is trucking. We just can't find enough trucks to haul it for us to be productive on those distances sometimes. So, and we're not the only ones suffering. A lot of the industry is just suffering from workforce issues.
So you outsource the trucking then of that?
We have some tandems of our own, and a lot of it is outsourced, yes.
Okay. Well, again, and I think when people talk about and they look at, business and industry in our area, when you get a job or whatever, or there's other contractors, people will look at it, and it takes a lot of it takes a lot of oars going in the same direction. You have to have good, truckers or subcontractors or whatever. And anytime, whether it's building a house or building a road, it takes a lot of parts, a lot of good people, and a lot of companies that you've worked with for many years to have those good relationships to be the most efficient business you can be.
Yeah, believe it or not, I always believe that construction is a relationship business. Because it's built on like you said, our subcontractors, our suppliers, and our employees. And we're a union company, and we have great employees that are trained and know what they're doing. So that helps us out a lot. This isn't our first rodeo. We've got a lot of trainees, and we're putting into the mix now a lot of apprentices that are interested in the construction, which makes me happy that they're interested in going into the construction field. So
you've, everybody talks about hiring. You felt you're doing okay as far as hiring and staffing these days?
Yeah, there is a little shortcoming. Like I said, they're unions, so they've been under the gun to try to go out and find workers, because we depend on them to more or less hire these workers and train them, and then we would use them. So we're all trying to work together on how we get these employees. And the biggest thing is, people have choices nowadays, a lot more than they used to, I think. So it's like we're trying to promote construction, and especially highway construction for our employees. So.
But you've got an experienced crew that's been with you for quite some time.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would say the average work experience with our workers right now is over 25 years.
Wow, that's and again, you've got it's great to have that dependability and that reliability, because in talking to people ever since we started the website and talking to more business owners, it's so hard to find good, reliable people. But the whole thing is, if a good employer takes care of its employees, the employees will generally put in a good, honest day for that employer.
That is entirely true, and we have very loyal employees, and we treat them fairly, and they like what they do, and they get it that we have to make it right for the customer, no matter who we're working for, IDOT or a commercial industry, whatever.
Absolutely. Well, Greg, I appreciate you stopping by our studio today. Best of luck. I know, again, with the winter coming up, it's not your peak season, but spring will be here before you know it, and you'll be out there laying some more asphalt.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I'm Bob Goff. That was Greg Miller with Diamond Construction, and we want to thank Case & Huff and Schluter for sponsoring our Business Spotlight. Have a great week. Representing nearly 20 A-rated insurance providers, Case & Huff and Schluter caters to most any type of insurance. Business, farm, home, auto, and health for nearly 100 years. Their team of experienced professionals is second to none in providing coverage for your insurance needs. Case & Huff and Schluter will find the most cost-effective solution to your business challenges, and with their experienced agents, they know how to navigate the insurance markets. 100 years, an agency built on service, no matter what side of the river you call home. Give them a call today or find them on Facebook. Case & Huff and Schluter, peace of mind since 1923.